When was the turning point? Do you recall? Was it some show or maybe recordings or?
I mean, I never felt uncertain. Like I always felt, good about things. But I think from like a fan perspective, sometime after Miss Machine came out, sometime soon after Miss Machine came out, we got so many new fans, and that I think that what started happening is that I just noticed that there were a lot of the older fans were being replaced by like younger kids, and eventually somewhere along the line, people just didn't even like. I don't even think many people at this point have even seen Brian, and Brian has only not played with us for 3 years, but it seems like so fresh right now, especially with like this new record coming out. Like, it's weird that we continue to get bigger with all these lineup changes. I don't understand,
How come?
I have no idea. I think that the spirit remains the same, and that Ben Weinman, the original guitar player, he has been the person that has written all the music forever. He wrote every note of every record, musically. So it's not like the writing force is changing. It's the people that are contributing, like other things. Like Chris Pennie, phenomenal drummer, but he was a tool for Ben to use. Ben would come up with these crazy ideas, and he needed a drummer that was good enough to be able to play them. And now we have Gil, who is, just as good, I think, better, honestly, than Chris. So it's not, we haven't really downgraded in any way. And another interesting thing that Ben was saying, I overheard Ben saying this in an interview, and this is really interesting, is that the people that come into this band bringing with them the notion of what they think it should be. So when they come into the band, like Jeff, for example, Jeff came into the band with almost like a cartoonish vision in his head of what it was. Like he thought it was, and same with me. Like I remember when I joined the band, I thought it was way more violent and way more aggressive and way more crazy than it was at the time. But because I thought that, like I kind of made it that, and like it kind of becomes like what these new people are seeing it as. So it continually, I think, is taking like a step forward,
But then Ben has to agree.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that like, obviously, the original vision is Ben's, but we've done a really good job of I feel, picking the right people. I think this lineup, at least since I've been in the band for the last 7 years, this lineup we have right now is the best that we've had. Like, we're playing more consistently than we've ever played. Like, we're playing at a higher level than we've ever played. As people, we get along way better than we've ever gotten along. Because that was the other thing, is that we didn't really get along that well in the past. And it made it difficult to be on tour.
So that's why Chris left?
Yeah, Chris and Ben could not get along. Like,
how come? Because, well, they were working together pretty long.
Yeah, I think what happens is that, honestly, from an outside perspective, like, they are both hard-headed people. They're both very defensive people. And they're both very kind of insensitive people. So the combination of being defensive and insensitive is a bad combination, And Chris is a little immature about certain things, And it sucks because they did have something for so long, But the problem is, and I would notice it, I knew years ago, like we would always say that they were going to eventually split, because they would get into shouting, like screaming matches. I've never heard adults scream at one another, like at the top of their lungs. It seemed ridiculous to me. That's like little kids, you know what I mean? Like 30-year-old men screaming at one another. Like this, it's like there's no way this is going to be able to continue, So what just happened is that, like, they had so many arguments from the past that had never been resolved, that every single time a new argument happened, they would just bring shit up from like 5 years ago, And it's just like unhealthy, man. And I think it was a situation where it probably should have happened a long time ago, but they were afraid to leave one another, And but now everything's great, I wish Chris the best of luck. I don't hate him. I don't hate Coheed. I don't have anything bad about to say about any of them. I wish him the best in that band.